Hello and welcome to the Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast with me, clinical somatic educator and founder of Total Somatics, Heidi Hadley. The Somatic Movement and Mindset podcast has been designed to help you gain a deeper understanding to how your mind and body work. You will learn about your amazing mind and body and why over time you can feel pain, recurring injuries and poor posture. Within this podcast, I will teach you why this doesn't have to be your future or the norm for you. Would you like to learn how to reduce pain, move freely, and gain a new lease of life? Let's get started. Hello and welcome back. Now, just before we get started, I just want to encourage you, if you're watching this on the Total Somatics YouTube channels, to like, share, subscribe, and press the notification bell. So every time a new episode is released, you're the very first to find out. And also, I just want to say thank you so much for all your wonderful comments, messages, and feedback from the recent 7-part podcast series where we took extracts from a recent live events that I held. So I'm so chuffed to hear from you all. And it was so lovely because we delved into the benefits of total somatic movement, mindset, and mindfulness, and how that really helps our overall health and well-being. So today, we're going to discuss the subject of how we can work smarter and not harder with total somatic movement. And what I'd love to do is I want to share with you a lovely account that I've had recently and how this account will also benefit you. And that is, only a few weeks ago, I was working in Sydney. So I was in Sydney just for a few days. And on the way back to Adelaide, I was at the Sydney airport. And of course, I was wearing my Total Somatics jumper, so it had all my details on. And this lovely lady came over, and she'd just come off a plane off American Airlines, landed in Sydney and was getting a connection flight to see her relatives in Adelaide. And so she came up and she asked me, what am I doing and what's this all about? So when I explained what Total Somatics is all about, at that point, she was so keen to know more because she'd had a very long flight. She'd come all the way from the other side of the world, and also added to that, with all the carrying of her luggage and sitting awkwardly, she did develop some really bad neck pains, back pains, and some wrist and arm issues as well with the travel. So I started teaching her some standing, and then we did a little bit of seated total somatic movement. And I also taught her some total somatic nerve mobilization techniques too, so that she could address any of that pain sensitivity as well. And by the end of it, there were 6 people involved in this movement session. And the biggest thing that they all kind of said, oh, yeah, and they all agreed with, is the overall comments was that they said that they didn't have to push, force, or work hard to get those really good results, and feeling there was a reduction in muscle tension and pain and discomfort. And it's so true, because when we work smarter, not harder, with our beautiful soma, we allow the intelligence from within to regulate, to recalibrate, and to recharge our entire soma. And you see, that's why one of my key pieces of advice that I will say to people is, don't force any of your movements. We shouldn't be forcing them. We are listening to where the end range of those movements are. That's the mindful practice with total somatics. You see, total somatic movement helps you to maintain a healthy sensitivity and control, because what we're doing is we're activating the sensory and the motor cortex, or the sensory and the motor portions of your brain. And until those sensory and those motor portions of your brain learn how to actually move muscles and how to release muscles, because people can be held in very tight muscles for a long time, until your sensory and motor parts of your brain learn that, there's no amount of force or exertion or pushing or trying to stretch a muscle. That's not going to work, because we need to release the subconscious or the unconscious contraction that's in the muscle that's been created from your brain. And until we wake your brain up and make it become more conscious or more mindful of its behavior and how to release that muscle tension, we are going to cause more damage than anything else if we try and force and push. Because forcing or pushing or stretching a muscle is quite an old-fashioned approach now, because as we move forward with neuromuscular science, neuroscience, movement medicine, or should I say movement is medicine, but movement and pain science, what we're realizing now is that actually when we start to use our brain to muscle connection correctly, rather than the old-fashioned thing of forcing and trying to drive a muscle to stretch under our ego or our control, it's not going to work, because forcing or pushing or stretching a subconsciously contracted muscle will actually cause more issues, because we're failing to stimulate the sensory and motor parts of your brain with re-education of efficient muscle memory, and also creating elastic recoil, which is what we want within our fascia. So if you try and force a subconsciously contracted muscle, you're going to create an equal and opposite resistance and reaction to that, which means it's going to cramp and spasm the muscle. And as a result of that, which is called the stretch reflex, so it's cramps and spasms as a protective mechanism, you end up with a muscle that's actually a little bit more tighter and contracted than when you were starting off originally. So that protective mechanism is to stop you from overstretching or tearing the muscle. So in order to reintroduce healthy sensitivity, coordination, muscle memory, elastic recoil to your body, Total Somatics is really the ideal approach for you, because the 6 people that were there in Sydney Airport, they wanted to know more, because they realized how quickly, when you work with your intelligence, with your nervous system, and you actually work and listen to all that information, and this is what I teach you within Total Somatics, you can work really quickly. You can see those changes. And as a result, I basically encourage them to go to the Total Somatics online shop. And that's what I want to share with you, is that the #1 selling product with Total Somatics globally, in I think it's well over 25 countries now, is Release Tight Hips and Back. And that's a 4-part series. So it's Release Tight Hips and Back with Clinical Somatic Movement. So if you go to totalsomatics.com, click on the shop page, and when you go to the shop page, you will see, if you scroll down, it says Release Tight Hips and Back with Clinical Somatic Movement. If you go to that there, what you'll find is, with everybody around the world at the moment, we're all going on holidays, aren't we? So if you're here in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia, and many people are kind of flying to Europe to get to the heat, and if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you're just traveling around for your summer holidays. And so because of that, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of exciting things happening in people's lives. So we really want to enjoy our holidays. We really want to be able to walk and explore these wonderful castles and different events that we have, without getting somewhere and then finding that our back and our hips are really tight. They're causing us a lot of issues, and it's going to ruin the quality of our holiday. But that's where Total Somatics can help, because if you go to the Total Somatics online shop and you look at the Release Tight Hips and Back series with Clinical Somatic Movement, if you get that 4-part series, you can basically download that to your phone or whatever device you're taking on your holidays, and I can come with you. So basically, I can be there to support you. And there's 4 movement sessions, 4 different movement sessions that will help to release a lot of those tight issues that you can experience. And the great thing is, you can use it for your holidays, but you can use it anytime after that. But consider how those 6 people, those people that I'd never met before, all came together because they wanted solutions to their pain and the tightness that they had. And it was so good that we all got together and they were able to see what Total Somatics could do for them. And that's why I share this story with you today, because it will benefit you too. If you go to totalsomatics.com, click on the shop page, go to that 4-part workshop series, and basically you can then enjoy your holiday, because you can do your practice. And the key thing is, you can take some of those things in those movements and just incorporate them throughout your day. So you could be looking at a lovely castle, listening to a very interesting tour guide, and you could be still doing some little pandiculation, some total somatic movements, just to soften and release those tense tight patterns that have occurred in your muscles from all the travel that you're doing. But I'd just love you to have a wonderful holiday, have a wonderful experience. If you're going anywhere, traveling on a plane, a train, a car, ferries, whatever you're doing, but do it in a mindful, total somatic approach, that you can really enjoy your experience without having any stiffness, any pain, any discomfort. And maybe we will meet in an airport somewhere around the world. And if ever we do, come over and we'll get together, and together there in an airport, wherever we are, we can do a few little somatic movements, and you can take that away as you enjoy your trip or wherever your adventures take you. So until next time, all my love, all my very best wishes. If you're going off on your holidays soon, have a wonderful time. And I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and also forward this on to somebody you know will benefit. To learn more about pain relief, plus how to improve your health and well-being, go to totalsomatics.com. Until next time, take care.